Love does change everything. Love changes everything, everything, because love changes us. Love returns us to the divine essence that we are. Love is the very essence of God, out of which the fabric of our world, our universe, is woven. And so love always prevails because, as we learn here, love is all that is. Covered as it may be, disjointed as it may seem, separated as it may feel, ultimately, always, love prevails because love is. Charles Fillmore, one of the co-founders of Unity, along with his beloved wife, Myrtle, writes in The Revealing Word about love, and he says, love, the pure essence of being that binds us together, that binds the whole human family. Of all the attributes of God, love is undoubtedly the most beautiful. In divine mind, love is the power that joins and binds in divine harmony the universe and everything in it. It is the great harmonizing principle known to mankind. Love is that harmonizing principle. And as I just read that, I thought of the beautiful song that we just heard and that the harmony of that. As we discussed last month, I know that was a whole month ago, right? Like, really, what did we talk about? In fact, I was here about a month ago, but last month was just last week. So, okay, as we discussed last month, in our prayer process, we talked about prayer, and there are a few steps in the prayer process. One is knowing, absolutely reminding ourselves and knowing that God is all there is, in all, as all, through all, period. God is love and there is nothing else. The next step is knowing, remembering that, God is all there is. Well, therefore, we, each one of us, must be a precious expression of that one love. Who else could we be? We are one with the one source, the one God, the one love. We are like a wave in the ocean. The wave looks separate, behaves a little differently than other waves or than the ocean, and yet it is not separate. It just seems that way, right? It is one with the ocean and one with all the other waves. So all you waves, we are one. I mentioned last month or the month before about this new ring I got, the little one. On the outside of it is Hebrew, and on the inside is English, the words, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one." Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. That's from the Old Testament, from Deuteronomy 6:4-9. And yet, how appropriate is that today, right? For these times, it is an affirmation of the unity and, dare I say, the simplicity of Jehovah, emphasizing that there is one God. That statement is known as the Shema, Shema, and it is central to the Jewish faith. There is one God, so there cannot be any other, right? No other out there that is separate from us. Now, I don't always want to believe that, I can tell you, when I see some certain behaviors and things, and I think, oh my gosh, glad I don't know that person. Guess what? That's another wave in my ocean, right? Now, I think this next quote I thought of this morning, and so I made a note of it. And I think it was Marcus Aurelius who said that. I'm good on fact checking, and Phil might fact check me on this. We'll see. When you know your enemy, you will win most of the time. When you know yourself, there is no enemy. When you know that you are one with the ocean, you know the other waves are not your enemy. They may be kind of not very nice. They may be full of sand and seaweed. It doesn't matter. When you know yourself, there is no enemy. You know, our lives can be knitted together like an elegant tapestry. It can also be knotted together, kind of in chaos. Okay, really, life is a combination of the knitting and the knotting. There's no doubt. The process of unknotting, of moving closer to the knitting, to the one source, the ultimate unconditional infinite love that we are, is through surrender, through prayer, through meditation, through breath. It is being. It is in the being that the unknotting exposes more the magnificent tapestry that we are. It's not in the doing, it's in the being. Knitted together, knotted together. That confusion and doubt, the knotting, happens when we believe we are separate from one another and separate from God. Then we get all knotted up, right? We just jump into the fray with our own judgments and opinions, and oh my gosh. And then we start to spit at the other waves. We get caught up in it. I realized this yesterday. I don't know why it took me so long, because I play word puzzles and games on my iPad. Millie, her name is Millie, on my iPad all the time. But I just didn't realize this consciously until yesterday. There is not much difference between the word unite and untie, right? It is just those two little letters, the I and the T, that are reversed. And yet they are flip sides of the same coin. They are so different. When we unite with friends, with family, with neighbors, with strangers, with one another, when we lay down our devices, that's what they're called now, you know, devices. When we lay down our devices and actually look at each other and talk to each other instead of texting, then we begin to unite. Then we begin to untie the pieces of ourselves that we have tried to keep hidden and separate. To unite is to untie the knots of separation that we have created. There is nothing that is not healed and restored to wholeness through love. Nothing. Beyond the knots, beyond the appearance, beyond expectations, is unity, is oneness, is love. God is I am. God is I am, inseparable. So we each have the connectivity of our light, our inner flame, the Christ light that which so beautifully lit and then talked about. We have that inner flame of the one source, the Christ light. And so we are all connected through that. We are connected with all things seen and unseen. Doesn't matter the behavior or the words. That light connection is unbreakable. Unbreakable. So then the question is, how do we live in unity? How do we live through our connectivity, through our connection? And two things came to mind as I wrote this. I could go on for days. I won't. Don't panic. I could go on for days about this, right? I bet most of us could. How do we live that connectivity? Two things came to mind, and that's what I'll mention right now. The first thing is be love. And I'll tell you where that comes from. That comes from a workshop that I did when I was new to Science of Mind, which is a peer church and philosophy to Unity. So I was fairly new to Science of Mind, and I was in this workshop, and it was facilitated by who has become my friend, Jan Carruthers, now Jan Carruthers Bornefeld. And so I'm sitting there, as we all are, and she was talking about our purpose and allowing our purpose to come into our awareness. I can do this. So I'm sitting there, and she led us into a guided meditation, and then we sat in silence, and the words I got were be love. Be love. And I'm saying, geez, this isn't working. Really? Be love? What the heck? Be love. I had no idea the depth and the challenges that went into the intention to be love. And so here I am, more than 40 years later, and that is still an inspiration and an intention for me to be love beyond words or beyond doing, to be love. And the second thing I thought of as how to live in unity through our connection is surrender. Again, when I was first in religious science, Portland Church Religious Science, and they would say surrender. And I would kind of dig my heels in a little and say, I'm not waving the white flag. I'm not a loser, right? Surrender. And I've come to realize it's not surrender to, it's surrender into. Surrender into. And so this is something I say quite regularly. O radiant Christ, O giver of life, I surrender into you. O eternal love, ever present light, ever flowing grace, I surrender into you. And then let go. Let go. When your garage sale starts, stop clinging to the stuff that you really want to let go of. Don't take it back into the house, for goodness sake. Let it go. Let it serve others. It has served you well. Let it serve others. Let it go. Think I spoke from experience, wouldn't you? So how do I do that? How do I let go? Are you kidding me, Jean? I really like that blouse. I don't know, you know. And part of it is, Jean, that's a size 5. You may never wear a 5 again. Let it serve someone else, right? I don't need to cling to that stuff. So how do I do that? How do I let go? Turn your attention to the new space in your house. Look at the space in your closet now, in your garage. What Mike says is we're not buying anything else till you get rid of stuff. So as soon as I get rid of something, that means I can buy something else. So there we are. Look at that. Look for the newness. Once that stuff that once served you and no longer does is gone, once it's serving someone else, allow the newness, right? Behold, I make all things new. So turn your attention to newness. Live through compassion. Compassion for all. Because you're a part of all, and all is a part of you. Beyond separation. And I would say, especially, be compassionate to yourself. Because you are amazing. I am amazing. We are precious. Be compassionate to yourself. Live as acceptance. And again, we begin with ourselves. It may not be as easy as the words coming out of my mouth are flowing. I can tell you. You can tell me. It's only when we begin to more fully accept ourselves that we can really let go of all those clothes that don't fit us anymore. Because we accept ourselves in this moment for who and what we are. Accept everyone and everything just as it is. Right? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I can't change anything out there. I've tried for 40 years to change Mike, and I'm telling you, it doesn't work. What can I change? I can change me. I can open my heart. I can be more accepting and more compassionate. I can love myself and accept myself a little bit more. I can praise and raise myself. I praise Jean. I raise Jean in the name of love. So, there's something else I do sometimes. Is I hug myself. It's like, oh, hug yourselves. We can do that. Yes, it's like, oh my gosh. There you go. Live as the light of Christ, the light of love. And when I say be light, I mean not dark. I also mean not heavy, serious, and not dense, holding on to things. Be light. One of my favorite phrases is Dominus illuminatio mea. The Lord is my light. Dominus illuminatio mea. So how do we be, not do, but be all of this stuff that I'm talking about? By turning to God, by turning to love, by communing with God, by contemplating. Contemplate love. Be in the silence. Because we know love changes everything. Everything. How do we be? Through prayer, through forgiving, through chanting, through raising and praising ourselves and everyone else and every situation. This Wednesday night, this is a big announcement, although it's probably been made before, but it's big for me. This Wednesday night at 5 p.m. on Zoom, and I know some of you have that Zoom link, so just keep that handy. You can get the Zoom link from the Ocean Unity website. I know that'll be talked about more, but Wednesday, 5 to 6 p.m. on Zoom will be an hour of prayer. My intention, I'll be leading it, my intention is to discuss the steps of prayer as I did when I was here last time. And I believe we have a PowerPoint to help walk us through that. And then to turn to prayers of the heart that I know we used to do here on Sundays. So we can each speak our own prayers. What is it that's on our heart right now? And so I'm really looking forward to that time together. You don't have to speak. Don't let that keep you away. It's okay if you don't. We're just there in community. We're there in connection. And even though it's Zoom, we have put down our separate devices and we are looking at each other. So I invite you to do that. We might even start doing it once a month. I don't know. We'll just see what comes of it. And if you have suggestions for that, let me know, or any of the board members know. Okay. So how do we be, not do? I would say through joy, through enjoying life. No matter what's going on out there, live through joy. Really. There were a group of Canadians and they were traveling on a bus tour through Holland. And they stopped at a cheese farm, and this young guy led them through the process of making cheese and whatnot. And one of the people said, well, geez, what a beautiful hillside. And look, that's where all the goats are. And he said, no, those are the older goats who don't produce. We just put them out to pasture. And they have that lovely hillside all to themselves. And the guide said, well, what do you do in Canada with your old goats that aren't producing? And the old gentleman said, they send us on bus tours of Holland. Unity connection looks like joy, like light, like smiles and laughter. That's really how we come together more strongly. I can sum all this up in one intention. One intention. I see all before me with the eyes of Christ. I see all before me with the eyes of love. Seeing God as everything in everything. It's not about the behavior or the words. It's about that essence. It's about that Christ light. It's about namaste, right? The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you. Namaste. I'll tell you that many years ago, when I was in high school, and then I went to secretarial school before I went to college. So this is many years ago. I practiced shorthand. Some of you know what shorthand is. I don't know. Yes, okay. And so I was pretty good at it. And in fact, my teacher in secretarial school said, geez, I could do like 160 words a minute and transcribe it. And she said, that's really good, but you got to get faster. Well, I don't know if it's possible to get faster, at least for me, but I said, okay, how do I do that? And she said, you sit down with your pad, your steno pad, and your pen, it's always pen, and you listen to the news because they talk about 250 words a minute. You're not going to get it, but it pushes you and to listen and transcribe at the same time. And I would do that. It was a little frustrating until I realized it was just a game, and I just kind of did the best I could. That was challenging. That was really challenging. How does that fit in with seeing with the eyes of Christ? I'll tell you. When we practice seeing with the eyes of Christ, I'll tell you the challenging part. I'll tell you the advanced part. And that is, same thing I did with my shorthand, watch the news, right? Be aware of the political season, of world events. That is the super advanced practice of seeing with the eyes of Christ. When I think I will ascend when I can sit through an entire newscast and see through the eyes of Christ and not jump back into, oh yeah, that's right. That is the super duper hard practice to see with the eyes of Christ. Then there's this stuff going on in our lives. Maybe easier, maybe not, because it's a lot closer. I just invite you to practice to see with the eyes of love. Totally different. Things will seem new and simpler, right? Behold, I make all things new. Connection is about knowing there is a Christ light in everyone and everything, no matter how walled off, no matter how covered it might seem. Knowing there is one essence, one God. That's love, and love changes everything. Love lifts us into a higher awareness, and it lightens our world. Unity, union, connection is an awareness of what already is. Oprah Winfrey said, surround yourself only with people who are going to lift you higher. And so I say to you, thank you for lifting me higher this morning. Thank you for always welcoming me with love. We are a beautiful tapestry knitted together with strands of love. So precious, so in full alignment with light, enchanted with joy, and lifted up through music. So we will have a little more music and allow it to lift us up. And then we'll go into our meditation. Feeling so blessed that Mike said yes, he would join us this morning and share his comments. Thank you. So let's just take a moment as we settle a bit more fully into our chairs. And just take a deep breath and allow your breath to settle in your heart. In your heart. Allow yourselves in this moment to see with the eyes of Christ, even just one thing, person, an event, a thing, whatever it is. No judgment, no opinion. Just acceptance and compassion, flowing effortlessly, graciously. For I know right here and now there is one presence, there is one essence, one energy, one glory, and that is God, that is love. And beside it, there is none other. Therefore, each of us is a magnificent, beautiful, precious expression of God, of love. Beyond any notion of separation, we are one. God is I am. And I speak my word for every person present this morning, knowing that we are each here through the guidance, the direction, and the love of Spirit. That we are called to open our hearts a bit more, to see more fully with the eyes of love, and to be the authentic self, the divine self that we are. And I say thank you, God, for the answer to this in every prayer. Answered even before it is spoken. But that is the promise. It's the promise. And I release these words knowing they are already filled. And so it is. Amen. When you're ready, just gently open your eyes and we will have some light. Yay. And Linda.